What if I told you Meghan Markle, the Duchess living in a $14 million mansion, just filed for unemployment benefits in California, using taxpayer money? Across America, outrage is boiling over as reports claim Meghan Markle applied for state unemployment assistance meant for struggling workers. Taxpayers are furious, calling her a lazy grifter and demanding answers. How could this happen? Why would someone with multi-million-dollar deals and royal ties even think of claiming benefits? And what Meghan allegedly told California officials will leave you stunned. Stay tuned as we uncover the explosive details behind this growing scandal shaking both the US and the UK. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. It started with whispers in online forums. A single post on Reddit claimed to have uncovered something that sounded so outrageous, so absurd, that most people dismissed it as a joke. Is Meghan Markle really applying for unemployment benefits in California? The user wrote. Within hours, the post had gone viral. Screenshots began circulating on X, formerly Twitter. Instagram Reels echoed with TikTok creators screaming this can't be real, and hashtags like hashtag lazy grifter, hashtag Markle welfare queen, and hashtag taxpayer revolt were trending globally. For millions of Americans struggling to make ends meet, the idea was not just shocking, it was insulting. This was Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, a woman who had once walked the aisle of St. George's Chapel, wearing a Givenchy dress that reportedly cost more than most people's annual salaries. Meghan, who along with Prince Harry had signed multi-million-dollar deals with Netflix, Spotify, and other global brands. Meghan, whose lavish Montecito mansion was valued at over $14 million. And yet here she was, allegedly filing for unemployment assistance from the state of California, assistance funded by taxpayers. The initial disbelief quickly morphed into collective outrage. Cable news networks picked up the story and ran with it for days. Headlines screamed, "Royal grifter? Meghan Markle accused of gaming U.S. welfare system." Commentators on both the left and right couldn't believe what they were reading. How can someone so rich, so privileged, even dare to apply for benefits designed to help people who are literally scraping by? One anchor fumed during a heated panel discussion. But as the story unfolded, it became clear that this was more than just a sensational headline. It was about trust. It was about privilege. And most of all, it was about the growing divide between the ultra-wealthy and ordinary Americans who felt their hard-earned tax dollars were being misused. Some sources claimed Meghan's move was perfectly legal, that California unemployment benefits were tied to her prior acting work and the pandemic's residual impact on freelance workers. Others argued it was morally indefensible for someone of her status to even consider such an option. And then came the leaks. Anonymous insiders allegedly tied to California's Employment Development Department, EDD, began spilling details of Meghan's application. She claimed she was between projects and needed support while waiting for her next gig, one source said. Another claimed Meghan justified her filing by citing her unique struggles as a public figure living in exile. Those words hit like a thunderclap across social media. For many, it confirmed what they had suspected all along, that Meghan had grown detached from reality, that she didn't understand, or didn't care about, the plight of everyday Americans. And the outrage wasn't confined to internet trolls or tabloid columnists. Even moderate voices began to ask tough questions. How many hardworking people were denied benefits last year because the system was overwhelmed? One California resident posted on Facebook. Now we find out that Meghan Markle might be part of the problem? Unacceptable. But as with all scandals involving Meghan Markle, there were two sharply divided camps. Her defenders rushed to her aid, arguing that she had every right to access state resources if she qualified. She's paid taxes here. She's a California citizen. Why should she be treated differently because of her fame? One supporter tweeted. Others, however, weren't buying it. This isn't about legality. It's about decency, another user countered. When you're sitting on millions and still go begging the state for money, that's greed. Plain and simple. Meanwhile, late-night comedians had a field day. One joked, Meghan Markle applying for unemployment is like Jeff Bezos using food stamps. What's next? Harry joining a couponing club. The audience erupted in laughter, but beneath the humor was a simmering anger that wouldn't go away. Even some members of the British press weighed in, with one tabloid declaring, "The Duchess of Disgrace, Meghan's latest stunt sparks global backlash." Royal commentators noted that this could be the final nail in the coffin for Meghan's public reputation. The perception of her as a hard-working, independent woman is crumbling, one expert said on air. Yet in the midst of all the noise, one burning question remained unanswered. Why? Why would Meghan Markle, of all people, risk her reputation to apply for something as controversial as unemployment benefits? Was this a calculated move to stir up attention? Or was it a genuine misunderstanding of how her actions would be perceived? And perhaps the most chilling revelation of all came from a leaked email allegedly sent by Meghan to her legal team. In it, she reportedly wrote, "If California owes me, why shouldn't I claim it? No one bats an eye when billionaires use loopholes." Those 17 words poured gasoline on an already raging fire. For millions of Americans struggling under the weight of rising rents, inflation, and stagnant wages, this felt like a slap in the face. The outrage was no longer just about Meghan Markle. It had become a rallying cry for fairness, accountability, and a reckoning with a system that many feel is rigged against them. As protests began to brew outside government buildings in Sacramento, one sign captured the mood perfectly: "No free rides for the rich." This isn't just another royal scandal. This is the story of how a single decision sent shockwaves through an entire nation and perhaps the world. And as we peel back the layers of this controversy, we'll uncover the explosive details about what really happened, how California officials are responding, and why this may be Meghan Markle's most damaging move yet. Stay with us. What we're about to reveal will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about royalty, privilege, and the American dream. The news cycle erupted like a volcano on an otherwise quiet Tuesday morning. Major networks, gossip blogs, and even financial outlets couldn't resist the pull of the headline that seemed too scandalous to be real. Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, had allegedly filed for unemployment benefits from the state of California. What started as a whisper in the digital corners of Reddit and Twitter had transformed into a wildfire engulfing every major media platform. Within hours, breakfast shows in Los Angeles and New York were hosting fiery debates about whether or not this was an administrative error, an elaborate hoax, or a jaw-dropping act of entitlement. At precisely 8:13 a.m. Pacific Time, TMZ dropped what they claimed was the first verifiable evidence, a leaked screen grab of an internal California Employment Development Department (EDD) system showing Meghan's name and application number. Though TMZ cautioned that they were still investigating the authenticity, the image spread faster than wildfire. "Is this the ultimate act of grift?" asked a visibly outraged anchor on Good Morning America. "Or are we witnessing a shocking abuse of a system designed to help struggling Californians?" The framing was deliberate, the tone designed to incite anger, and it worked. Viewers flooded the show's live comment section with furious messages. One woman wrote, "I worked 3 jobs through the pandemic just to keep my family afloat. Now my tax dollars might be funding Meghan Markle's next latte? Unacceptable." Another viewer demanded to know how someone living in a mansion in Montecito could even be eligible for unemployment in the first place. But that was only the beginning. By midday, California's EDD released a terse statement acknowledging that an application under the name Meghan Markle had been received. They refused to elaborate, citing privacy laws, but promised a full investigation to verify eligibility. Their careful language did little to calm the storm. Instead, it poured gasoline on the public outrage. The lack of an outright denial felt, to many, like confirmation. Journalists descended on Montecito, hoping for a glimpse of Meghan or Harry. Paparazzi staked out coffee shops and yoga studios, whispering about which of Meghan's friends might have been the ones to tip off the press. Meanwhile, reporters camped outside California's EDD offices in Sacramento. One breathless correspondent reported live, "If this is true, it would represent a stunning moment in modern welfare history, a millionaire duchess seeking funds from a system funded by ordinary Californians." The backlash was swift and brutal. Social media exploded with memes mocking Meghan as a benefits queen. A viral TikTok featured a young woman pretending to be Meghan, strutting through a welfare office in designer heels, muttering, "Just here to collect what's mine." It was meant to be funny, but for many, it crystallized their anger. In Fresno, a group of unemployed workers who had been denied benefits during the height of the pandemic organized a protest. They waved signs that read, "No free rides for royalty and EDD is not your ATM." Interviewed by a local news station, one man said bitterly, "My wife and I were months behind on rent because the system was too overwhelmed to process our claim. And now this woman thinks she can just walk in and take from us? It's disgusting." Even celebrities began weighing in. Piers Morgan, predictably, launched a tirade on his evening show. "This is the final proof, if any were needed, that Meghan Markle is the laziest grifter alive today," he thundered. Across the pond, British tabloids seized on the story, gleefully pointing to it as evidence that the Duchess had fully embraced her American grifting era. The Daily Mail ran a splashy cover reading, "Duchess of Welfare? Meghan's shocking move sparks fury." At the same time, some voices urged caution. A handful of legal analysts pointed out that unemployment benefits in California are tied to previous taxable employment. If Meghan's acting work was taxed here and she reported earnings, she could, technically, be eligible, one expert explained. But these rational analyses were drowned out by the louder, angrier chorus accusing Meghan of exploiting a system meant for the needy. What struck many observers was how the scandal cut across political lines. Conservatives decried Meghan as the ultimate welfare queen, while progressives criticized her for taking funds from a state system already stretched thin. Both sides agreed on one thing. It was a bad look for someone who had spent years preaching about compassion, equality, and privilege. As the day wore on, new details began to surface. An anonymous source inside the EDD claimed Meghan's application referenced loss of income due to canceled media projects and temporary need for assistance while seeking new contracts. This revelation only deepened the outrage. Critics pounced on her wording as proof of arrogance. "She's treating unemployment like it's her personal piggy bank," one activist raged on Instagram Live. Then came the most explosive claim of all. A former staffer from the Montecito estate leaked that Meghan had joked about getting back what I paid in taxes. Whether true or not, this soundbite went viral in minutes, reinforcing the public perception of Meghan as out of touch and entitled. As night fell, the scandal showed no signs of dying down. Protests outside EDD offices grew. In Los Angeles, a group of gig workers rallied with chants of benefits for workers, not duchesses. TV pundits warned that the controversy could spark a wider examination of how wealthy individuals navigate welfare systems. And yet, as the backlash intensified, Meghan herself remained silent. No Instagram post, no press release, no statement from Archwell. That silence spoke volumes to her critics, who interpreted it as a sign of guilt. "If it's false, why not deny it immediately?" one news anchor demanded. Meanwhile, Prince Harry's name began trending alongside Meghan's. Photos of him attending polo matches circulated with snarky captions. "Harry plays polo while Meghan plays the system." The Sussex brand, already under fire for the collapse of their Spotify deal, was now facing its most intense scrutiny yet. It was no longer just about an unemployment claim. It had morphed into a cultural flashpoint about privilege, entitlement, and the perception of fairness in American society. As midnight approached on the West Coast, another leak surfaced, this time an internal EDD memo reportedly instructing staff to handle the Markle file with utmost discretion. It was meant to be reassuring, but instead, it fanned conspiracy theories. Was the state covering for Meghan? Was she using her influence to pressure officials? Or was the whole thing a bureaucratic error blown wildly out of proportion? These were the questions swirling as America went to bed, but one thing was certain, the outrage had only just begun. This wasn't just a tabloid scandal anymore. It was shaping up to be a political powder keg, and it wasn't clear how or when it would be defused. For years, Meghan Markle's financial journey has been the subject of fascination, admiration, and increasingly, controversy. From her days as a struggling actress to her meteoric rise as the Duchess of Sussex, her wealth has been scrutinized and celebrated in equal measure. But in light of her alleged unemployment claim, the public is now asking one question louder than ever before. How much money does Meghan Markle really have, and why would someone of her means resort to taxpayer-funded benefits? To understand the outrage, we must first trace the trajectory of Meghan's financial life, starting with her modest beginnings. Born in Los Angeles, Meghan grew up in a middle-class household. Her father, Thomas Markle, was a television lighting director who won Emmy Awards for his work. Her mother, Doria Ragland, worked as a yoga instructor and social worker. Though Meghan attended private schools and later graduated from Northwestern University with a double major in theater and international studies, she was far from wealthy. In interviews during her early acting career, Meghan spoke candidly about her struggles to make ends meet in Hollywood. Her first major break came in 2011 when she landed the role of Rachel Zane on the legal drama Suits. At the height of her tenure, Meghan was reportedly earning $50,000 per episode. With roughly 100 episodes to her name, estimates put her Suits earnings at approximately $5 million before taxes and expenses. During this time, Meghan also secured endorsement deals, lifestyle blog sponsorships, and freelance calligraphy gigs, all of which added to her income. By the time she met Prince Harry in 2016, Meghan was living comfortably but was far from the kind of wealth associated with royalty. Her estimated net worth hovered around $5 million, a significant amount but modest compared to the British aristocracy. Everything changed when she married into the royal family in 2018. Meghan's new status came with privileges that most could only dream of. She and Harry initially resided in Nottingham Cottage on the grounds of Kensington Palace before moving to Frogmore Cottage, which underwent a taxpayer-funded renovation reportedly costing over $3 million. Meghan also gained access to the royal wardrobe, borrowing priceless jewelry from the Queen's collection and wearing designer gowns worth tens of thousands of dollars. However, her marriage also brought restrictions. As senior royals, Meghan and Harry were expected to follow strict protocols, including refraining from personal commercial ventures. This became a point of contention and, many believe, a catalyst for their eventual exit from royal duties. In 2020, Meghan and Harry announced their decision to step back from royal life and pursue financial independence. Initially, they were cut off from royal funding, forcing the couple to rely on Harry's inheritance from Princess Diana, reportedly around $10 million, and Meghan's residual earnings. Their move to California marked the beginning of their new financial chapter. The couple purchased a sprawling $14.65 million estate in Montecito, complete with 16 bathrooms, a home theater, a spa, and a chicken coop. The purchase raised eyebrows, as many wondered how the couple could afford such a property so soon after severing ties with royal funds. The answer seemed to lie in their highly publicized deals with streaming and media giants. In 2020, Meghan and Harry signed a multi-year deal with Netflix, reportedly worth up to $100 million. The contract promised documentaries, scripted series, and children's programming under their Archwell Productions banner. Around the same time, they inked a deal with Spotify for an estimated $25 million to produce exclusive podcasts. On paper, these deals catapulted the couple into a new stratosphere of wealth. Media outlets speculated that Meghan's net worth alone could have ballooned to $60 million, factoring in future earnings from book deals, speaking engagements, and her children's potential brand value. But the reality, according to financial experts, may be more complicated. Despite the staggering figures reported in the press, it is unclear how much of the Netflix and Spotify deals were paid up front. Some insiders suggest the contracts were heavily performance-based, meaning the Sussexes would only receive the full amounts if they delivered a certain volume of successful content. This theory gained traction in 2023 when Spotify abruptly terminated their partnership with Archwell Audio after producing just one podcast series, Archetypes. Reports surfaced that Spotify executives were disappointed with the output and return on investment. Meghan's critics seized on the news, labeling her a Hollywood failure and accusing her of overestimating her star power. Similarly, the Netflix deal has been subject to intense scrutiny. While the couple produced the highly viewed documentary series Harry and Meghan, other planned projects were quietly canceled. Sources claim that Archwell Productions faced challenges in pitching content to a saturated streaming market. Meanwhile, Meghan's lifestyle has remained undeniably lavish. In addition to their Montecito mansion, the couple frequently traveled by private jet, attended high-profile celebrity events, and reportedly spent millions on security and legal fees. Financial analysts note that maintaining such a lifestyle could quickly deplete even a multi-million-dollar fortune, especially if expected income streams fail to materialize. The Montecito mansion alone carries an estimated annual upkeep cost of $1 million, including property taxes, utilities, staff salaries, and maintenance. It is against this backdrop that Meghan's alleged unemployment claim must be examined. If Meghan is indeed facing cash flow issues, it would not be unprecedented for a celebrity to experience financial strain despite enormous earnings. History is replete with stories of wealthy individuals declaring bankruptcy after overextending themselves. However, Meghan's critics argue that even if she is struggling financially, applying for unemployment benefits crosses a moral line. There's a difference between being cash poor and being truly destitute, one commentator argued. Meghan still has access to wealth and resources beyond most people's wildest dreams. For her to claim benefits designed for people who are struggling to pay rent or buy groceries is indefensible. Supporters of Meghan, on the other hand, frame her actions differently. They argue that Meghan has been unfairly targeted and that she may have applied for benefits out of necessity, not greed. If she paid into the system when she was working in California, she has every right to claim what she's entitled to, one fan tweeted. Adding fuel to the fire are rumors about Meghan's private investments. Some reports suggest she put a substantial portion of her wealth into environmentally sustainable ventures and tech startups, which have yet to yield significant returns. Others allege that the couple's legal battles with British tabloids and former staffers have drained millions from their accounts. As the public debates Meghan's financial standing, a deeper question emerges. How much wealth is enough to disqualify someone from seeking government assistance? Is the outrage driven by a sense of moral injustice or by resentment toward the ultra-privileged? What is clear is that Meghan Markle's finances are no longer just a subject of curiosity. They have become a flashpoint in a wider conversation about entitlement, fairness, and the responsibilities of the rich in times of economic hardship. And if Meghan thought her money troubles, real or perceived, would remain private, the past 48 hours have proven otherwise. The world is watching closely, and every dollar she has or doesn't have is now part of a larger narrative about her place in American society. The California Employment Development Department sat squarely at the eye of the storm. Once regarded as just another bureaucratic agency dealing with the endless paperwork of the state's unemployment and disability claims, it suddenly became the center of one of the most explosive celebrity scandals in recent memory. Reporters swarmed its Sacramento headquarters like bees around a hive, camera crews stationed outside the drab gray building for days on end, hoping to catch even the briefest statement from a spokesperson. In the initial hours after the story broke, the agency had issued a cautious, almost sterile press release. The EDD does not comment on individual cases, it read. However, we can confirm that an application was filed under the name Meghan Markle. Due to confidentiality laws, we are unable to provide additional details at this time. That statement, meant to calm the public, had the opposite effect. It was like waving a red flag in front of a charging bull. For millions of taxpayers, this was confirmation that the Duchess of Sussex had in fact gone through official channels to request benefits from California's safety net. Speculation exploded online and in media circles. Did Meghan actually meet the criteria for unemployment? Was the EDD bending rules to accommodate her? Or, more worryingly, was she exploiting loopholes in a system already strained to its breaking point by years of economic turbulence? To understand the furor, one has to know how California's unemployment system works. Unemployment insurance, UI, in the state is designed to provide temporary financial assistance to workers who have lost their jobs through no fault of their own and are actively seeking work. Eligibility depends on several factors: a history of taxable employment in California, a minimum amount of wages earned during a designated base period, and ongoing availability to work. A former EDD official, speaking to reporters under the condition of anonymity, confirmed that if Meghan Markle paid into the system during her acting career in California, she might technically qualify for benefits. That statement became fodder for hours of cable news debate. On Fox News, a panelist nearly shouted into the camera, "This is insane. The system was never designed for multimillionaires to collect checks meant for single moms and laid-off factory workers. This is government enabling entitlement." Over on MSNBC, the mood was more tempered but no less concerned. "This raises serious ethical questions," said one guest expert. "Even if she legally qualifies, should she have applied? It's a matter of principle." Behind the scenes, however, EDD officials were scrambling. The department, notorious for being overwhelmed even in non-crisis years, now faced a tsunami of media requests, public outrage, and even threats. Staffers reported receiving angry phone calls from citizens demanding Meghan's application be denied immediately. Some calls were more sinister, with one reportedly warning, "If you give that woman a dime, we'll sue the state." The department also began an internal audit of the case. A leaked memo revealed that senior officials had instructed employees to exercise extreme caution and ensure strict adherence to policy when processing the Markle file. That line, once made public, ignited a fresh round of conspiracy theories on social media. Some speculated that Meghan was receiving preferential treatment. Others argued that she was being unfairly targeted because of her fame and controversial reputation. Governor Gavin Newsom's office was dragged into the controversy when reporters pressed him during a press conference about the state's response. His curt reply did little to ease tensions. We will not treat any applicant differently based on their status or celebrity. California law applies equally to everyone, he said before moving on to another topic. But many weren't satisfied. Taxpayer advocacy groups demanded transparency and called for an independent investigation into Meghan's application. Californians are struggling to get their claims approved, said Laura McIntyre of the Citizens for Fiscal Fairness organization. Meanwhile, a celebrity living in a mansion might be fast-tracked for benefits? It's outrageous. The controversy also pulled in EDD's recent history of mismanagement. During the pandemic, the agency had faced widespread criticism for delays in processing legitimate claims while accidentally paying out billions in fraudulent benefits. In 2021 alone, California estimated that over $20 billion was lost to fraud, including payments made to prison inmates and foreign nationals. This history added fuel to the fire. If they can hand out millions to scammers and still leave hardworking Californians waiting for months, what's to stop them from giving Meghan Markle a check she doesn't need? Asked a frustrated restaurant owner in San Diego. Amidst the chaos, some EDD employees reportedly expressed quiet sympathy for Meghan. We have no way of knowing her personal finances, one staffer said anonymously to a local newspaper. We process applications based on eligibility, not public opinion. People need to remember that. Others within the agency felt differently. It's hard to watch when you know there are families out there on the verge of homelessness who can't get through the system, another worker admitted. This case feels like a slap in the face to every Californian waiting in line. As public outrage grew, a second internal document leaked to the press, revealing that Meghan's application was flagged for high-profile monitoring. This meant that every stage of her claim, verification, eligibility determination, potential approval, would be reviewed by senior EDD officials rather than regular clerks. Still, the department remained tight-lipped about specifics. Was Meghan's application progressing? Had she received even a single payment? Or had her claim already been quietly denied? Without answers, the public filled the vacuum with rumor and conjecture. Some legal experts weighed in, pointing out that Meghan's Montecito residence and multi-million-dollar deals could disqualify her from benefits, depending on how much taxable income she had reported recently. Others countered that if she hadn't drawn a salary from Archwell or Netflix in the relevant quarters, she might still technically be eligible. A prominent California labor attorney summed up the dilemma succinctly. The law is clear, but the optics are disastrous. Whether Meghan receives a penny or not, the damage to her reputation is already done. This case is a lightning rod for all the anger people feel toward a system they see as unfair. By the end of the week, protests had erupted outside both the EDD headquarters and Meghan's Montecito mansion. In Sacramento, demonstrators carried placards reading EDD for the needy, not the greedy, and privilege is not a qualification. The department's phone lines were jammed, its website crashed from the surge of traffic, and employees reportedly had to be escorted out of the building by security as tensions escalated. Inside the EDD, staff continued their work in tense silence, knowing that every keystroke on Meghan Markle's file could be scrutinized in the global media. It was becoming clear that this wasn't just a question of eligibility anymore. It was a battle over fairness, trust, and whether California's institutions could withstand the crushing weight of public outrage. As the days dragged on without resolution, a single question loomed ever larger. Would Meghan's claim be approved or denied? And whichever way it went, what would happen next? The reaction was instant, visceral, and louder than anyone could have imagined. Across America, from the sun-soaked streets of Los Angeles to the snow-dusted suburbs of Boston, ordinary taxpayers were seething. The idea that Meghan Markle, a woman with international fame, access to luxury, and ties to royalty, could file for unemployment benefits in California felt, to many, like a slap in the face. For those who had endured months of frustration with California's Employment Development Department during the pandemic, the outrage cut deep. These were people who had spent hours on hold, navigating broken websites, and sometimes waited months for their benefits to arrive, if they arrived at all. And now, this same system that had failed so many appeared to be entertaining an application from someone living in a $14 million Montecito mansion. Social media platforms were ablaze with fury. On X, hashtags like #GrifterMarkle, #EDDScandal, and #NoChecksForRoyals trended globally. One particularly viral tweet read, "My wife and I went 10 weeks without a paycheck, while we begged EDD to process our claim. Now we find out Meghan Markle is in line for the same help? This is grotesque. That post alone garnered over 1.2 million likes and tens of thousands of comments, many echoing similar sentiments. Videos began pouring in from Americans venting their frustration. In one TikTok, a single mother in Fresno stood in her cramped kitchen, holding up a stack of overdue bills. "I've been waiting 3 months for my unemployment benefits." 3 months. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle thinks she's entitled to my tax dollars? Girl, go sell one of your dresses. The video drew over 5 million views within 48 hours. In California, small protests began forming outside EDD offices. At first, they were small gatherings of laid-off workers holding handwritten signs. But as news outlets picked up the story, the protests swelled. In Sacramento, demonstrators carried placards reading, "EDD is for families, not freeloaders, no benefits for billionaires, and stop funding the rich." One man, a laid-off construction worker named Carlos Ramirez, spoke to a local reporter through tears. "I've worked hard my whole life, paid my taxes, never asked for a handout. And when I finally needed help, the system failed me." To hear that Meghan Markle might be taking money from that same system, it feels like a betrayal. Like we don't matter. Public anger wasn't limited to California. Across the country, people weighed in on talk radio shows, podcasts, and television panels. On conservative networks, Meghan was painted as the ultimate symbol of liberal elitism and entitlement. This woman walked away from royal life, claimed she wanted independence, and now she's draining taxpayer funds, one Fox News commentator fumed. It's the height of hypocrisy. On progressive platforms, the outrage took on a different tone. While some hosts defended Meghan's right to apply if she was technically eligible, others argued that her decision reflected a larger systemic problem. "Even if she qualifies legally, it's morally indefensible," said one host on a popular left-leaning podcast. These programs were designed for working-class people on the brink of homelessness, not millionaires in Montecito. But it wasn't just the talking heads fueling the fire. Regular Americans sent a deluge of angry letters and emails to state legislators and Governor Gavin Newsom's office. One letter read, "My family is drowning in debt because the EDD can't handle its caseload, and yet they've got time to process Meghan Markle's claim? Enough is enough." Taxpayer advocacy groups quickly organized petitions demanding that California's legislature intervene. "Californians deserve answers," declared Laura McIntyre of Citizens for Fiscal Fairness. "We need to know how this happened, why it was allowed to happen, and what the state intends to do about it." One petition titled, "Stop Meghan Markle from Abusing California Unemployment," gathered over 500,000 signatures within 72 hours. As public outrage built, late-night comedians found plenty of material in the controversy. On The Tonight Show, the host quipped, "Meghan Markle applying for unemployment is like Elon Musk asking for gas money. What's next? Jeff Bezos starting a GoFundMe." The audience roared with laughter, but the underlying anger was palpable. Even celebrities weighed in. Piers Morgan, never one to miss an opportunity to criticize Meghan, called her the laziest grifter of modern times. Sharon Osbourne chimed in during an interview, calling the move disgusting and disgraceful. Across the Atlantic, British tabloids had a field day with headlines like, "Duchess of Dole, Meghan's benefits blunder shocks America," and "From Palace to Welfare Office, the fall of Meghan Markle." But not everyone was against Meghan. A small but vocal group of supporters defended her online. "She paid taxes in California. She's a citizen. If she qualifies, she should apply just like anyone else," one commenter argued. Others accused critics of racism and sexism, suggesting that Meghan was being unfairly singled out because of her background and outspoken nature. Yet even among her defenders, there was unease. Some admitted that while Meghan might be within her legal rights, the optics were disastrous. "This isn't about legality," said a Meghan supporter in an Instagram live session. "It's about how it looks. And right now, it looks bad." In coffee shops, office break rooms, and family dinner tables, the conversation kept returning to the same questions. How could this happen? Why would someone with such resources even consider applying for unemployment? And what does this say about California's ability to protect its systems from misuse? A retired teacher in San Diego summed up the mood in an interview with a local station. "This isn't just about Meghan Markle," she said. "It's about a system that's supposed to protect the vulnerable being turned into a playground for the rich. If they let this slide, how can we trust anything anymore?" As the days wore on, anger began to morph into organized action. Grassroots groups threatened to sue the state if Meghan's application was approved. Others called for boycotts of companies tied to the Duchess, including Netflix and Archwell. For Meghan, the backlash represented a stunning fall from grace in a country that had once embraced her as a symbol of independence and reinvention. Now, to many Americans, she had become the embodiment of everything wrong with wealth, privilege, and entitlement. And yet, Meghan remained silent. No Instagram statement. No press release. No interviews. This silence only deepened the public's suspicion. Was she ignoring the backlash because she felt untouchable, or because there was something she didn't want the world to know? The outrage showed no signs of slowing down. In fact, it was snowballing into something much bigger, a national debate about fairness, justice, and who gets to access America's social safety nets. As one protester's sign outside an EDD office put it bluntly, "We're starving." She's shopping. The anger was no longer just about Meghan Markle. It had become about every taxpayer who felt invisible, every worker denied benefits, and every Californian wondering how much longer they could trust a system that seemed so easily gamed. As the storm of public outrage continued to build, Meghan Markle herself remained silent, but whispers of her side of the story began leaking from behind the high gates of the Montecito estate. For days, the Duchess of Sussex had been the subject of relentless media scrutiny. Commentators, protesters, and politicians alike were painting her as the face of entitlement, but now, details from close sources started to offer a different picture, one that complicated the narrative and sparked fresh debate. The first hints came from an unnamed friend of the Duchess speaking to a high-profile lifestyle magazine. According to this source, Meghan had filed for unemployment benefits not out of desperation or greed, but as a principled stance. The friend alleged that Meghan viewed her application as a test of fairness in the system. Meghan believes she's been vilified for simply exercising the same rights as any other taxpayer, the friend explained. She paid her taxes in California as a working actress. She contributed to the system, and she wanted to see if the system would treat her equally, not as a celebrity, not as a duchess, but as an ordinary Californian. That explanation did little to calm public anger. For many, it sounded like spin, an attempt to recast what they saw as shameless opportunism into a noble experiment. Yet there were those who saw a kernel of truth in it. Was Meghan, in her own controversial way, shining a light on the flaws and biases in America's welfare system? Or was this justification a desperate cover story after an ill-conceived decision? In private, Meghan's circle was reportedly split on how to handle the scandal. One insider revealed that advisors had urged her to immediately issue a public statement clarifying her actions, possibly even withdrawing her claim and pledging to donate an equivalent sum to charity. They told her this would be the fastest way to extinguish the fire, the source said. But Meghan felt that would amount to admitting guilt, and she's convinced she hasn't done anything wrong. Instead, Meghan doubled down, telling confidants that she was tired of being bullied and demonized by the media. She feels there's a double standard, said another source close to the couple. If a man in her position, especially a white man, had applied for unemployment benefits after paying into the system, there wouldn't be nearly as much outrage. Meghan believes she's being targeted because of her race, her gender, and her refusal to conform to expectations of how a former royal should behave. To bolster her defense, Meghan's legal team quietly began compiling documentation showing her history of paying state taxes during her acting career in Los Angeles. They argued that because her income from Netflix and other ventures was classified differently under tax law, she technically qualified for unemployment based on residuals from her earlier work. Just because someone lives in a mansion doesn't mean they aren't legally eligible, her attorney reportedly said in a draft statement that was never released to the public. Eligibility is determined by prior earnings and contributions to the system, not by public opinion about one's wealth or lifestyle. That legal argument, while technically sound, failed to sway critics. For most Americans, the issue was never about legality, it was about morality. She's got millions in the bank and she's married to a prince, said one outraged California resident in an interview outside an EDD office. She can sell a tiara or one of her designer bags if she needs cash. Unemployment is for people who don't have any other options. Even some of Meghan's past supporters expressed disappointment. On a popular women's empowerment podcast, a host who once hailed Meghan as a feminist icon now questioned her judgment. "I defended her through the royal family drama, the tabloid attacks, all of it. But this? This is indefensible. It makes her look completely out of touch with the struggles of ordinary people. Still, Meghan's defenders remained vocal, especially online. They pointed out that unemployment benefits are not welfare. They're insurance payments funded by contributions from workers and employers. She's not taking charity, one Twitter user wrote. She's claiming what she's entitled to after paying into the system. If you don't like the law, change the law. That perspective gained traction in certain circles, sparking heated debates about wealth, privilege, and the purpose of unemployment insurance. Was it wrong for Meghan to apply simply because she didn't need the money? Or was the outrage proof that America's social safety nets are riddled with stigma and bias? Amid these discussions, Meghan reportedly confided to friends that she felt betrayed by California's EDD for leaking news of her application. According to insiders, she believed the breach of confidentiality was a violation of her rights and was considering legal action against the department. This was supposed to be a private process, she allegedly told a close friend. Instead, they've made me a target. It's disgraceful. Meanwhile, Prince Harry found himself caught in the crossfire. While Meghan's critics roasted her, Harry became collateral damage. Tabloids ran unflattering photos of him playing polo in Santa Barbara, with captions like, "Prince Harry lives in luxury while Meghan seeks handouts." In private, Harry was said to be urging Meghan to stay calm and avoid making any hasty public statements. A source described Harry as deeply concerned about the damage to their brand, particularly as the couple sought to secure new projects in the wake of their Spotify deal collapse. Harry understands the optics are terrible, the insider said. But he also wants to support Meghan. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. As the controversy dragged on, Meghan's team quietly floated the idea of reframing the narrative. One proposal involved Meghan publicly donating any unemployment benefits she received to a California-based charity supporting low-income families. Another plan suggested she use the moment to launch a campaign highlighting flaws in the unemployment system and advocating for reforms. But Meghan reportedly rejected both ideas. "Why should I apologize for following the rules?" she allegedly told her advisors. "If people are angry, that's on them, not on me." This refusal to bend only fueled public resentment. Protesters began gathering outside the gates of the Montecito mansion, chanting slogans like "No checks for the rich" and "EDD is not your playground." Helicopters hovered overhead as news networks broadcast live footage of the estate, speculating on Meghan's next move. Inside those gates, Meghan was said to be growing increasingly frustrated and isolated. Friends described her as shocked by the ferocity of the backlash and deeply hurt by what she perceived as unfair treatment. She genuinely doesn't understand why people are so angry, one insider revealed. In her mind, she's done nothing wrong. But she also doesn't realize how this looks to people who are struggling to buy groceries and pay rent. Whether Meghan's position was principled or tone-deaf, one thing was clear: the silence could not last forever. The pressure for her to speak was mounting by the hour. Would she hold a press conference? Post an emotional video on Instagram? Release a carefully worded statement through Archwell? Or would she double down on her silence, hoping the outrage would burn itself out? As America waited for Meghan to break her silence, the scandal had already taken on a life of its own. It wasn't just about one woman's unemployment claim anymore. It had become a national conversation about wealth, fairness, and the limits of public patience. And behind the scenes, California officials were preparing to make a decision that would determine the next phase of the crisis. Would Meghan Markle's unemployment claim be approved or denied? The political and celebrity fallout from Meghan Markle's alleged unemployment claim hit like a thunderclap, reverberating far beyond California's borders. What began as a localized controversy quickly spiraled into a full-blown cultural war, drawing in politicians, entertainers, and public figures across the ideological spectrum. Every commentator seemed to have an opinion, and as the days passed, the scandal grew into a global spectacle with no signs of slowing down. The first major political figure to weigh in was California Congresswoman Marissa Velasquez, a progressive Democrat known for her advocacy on poverty issues. Standing before a crowd of constituents at a town hall in San Jose, Velasquez's words were measured but sharp. "The unemployment system was designed to support our most vulnerable citizens in times of need," she said. "It was not created for multimillionaires to test its fairness or supplement their luxurious lifestyles." Her comment drew thunderous applause and was quickly clipped into soundbites that flooded social media. Soon after, other politicians joined the chorus. Republican Senator Todd Whitmore, speaking on a conservative talk show, took a harder line. "This is everything wrong with our welfare state," Whitmore fumed. "You've got celebrities gaming the system while hardworking Americans are being denied benefits. This isn't just incompetence, it's a moral failure. California taxpayers should be outraged." Governor Gavin Newsom, already under pressure over California's struggling unemployment system, was forced to address the controversy during a press briefing on wildfire response. Visibly irritated, he said, "No one, regardless of fame or status, is above the law or above our eligibility guidelines. If this application is found to be outside those parameters, it will be denied." His statement was intended to cool public anger, but critics on both sides accused him of dodging responsibility. Meanwhile, the scandal caught fire in Hollywood, where opinion was deeply divided. On one side, a group of high-profile celebrities defended Meghan's actions. Oprah Winfrey, Meghan's longtime ally, posted a cryptic Instagram message. "It's not the size of your house or your bank account that determines your rights. Systems are for everyone. Period." The post racked up millions of likes but also thousands of angry comments accusing Oprah of enabling Meghan's behavior. Ellen DeGeneres tweeted in support as well, writing, "If Meghan paid into the system, she has the same right as anyone else to use it. Stop the double standards." But critics were quick to point out that both Oprah and Ellen are billionaires themselves and suggested they were out of touch with the realities of ordinary Americans. On the other side of the spectrum, the backlash among Meghan's former Hollywood peers was brutal. Sharon Osbourne called Meghan's actions vile during an appearance on a British morning show. "She's living in a mansion, flying private jets, and now she's applying for unemployment? It's beyond disgraceful," Osbourne said, her voice dripping with venom. Even some of Meghan's acquaintances from her acting days spoke out. A former Suits co-star, requesting anonymity, told a tabloid, "This doesn't surprise me at all. Meghan has always been ambitious to the point of ruthlessness. She's not above using any system to her advantage." Comedians also jumped on the scandal with glee. On Saturday Night Live, a skit featured an actress playing Meghan striding into an unemployment office dressed head to toe in designer clothes, clutching a Louis Vuitton handbag, and saying, "Excuse me, I'd like my check, preferably in cash." The audience roared with laughter, but the sketch ignited furious debate online. Supporters argued it was a harmless parody, while critics claimed it crossed the line into bullying. Internationally, the scandal dominated headlines. In Britain, the tabloid press treated the controversy as vindication for years of negative coverage. The Sun plastered its front page with the headline, "Duchess of Dole, Meghan's latest cash grab." Piers Morgan, ever the antagonist, launched into a fiery monologue on his nightly show. She turned her back on Britain, claimed she wanted financial independence, and now she's milking California's welfare system like a cow, he thundered. "This is entitlement on steroids." The British public appeared equally divided. While some saw Meghan's actions as proof that she was unfit for royal life, others argued the scandal was being exaggerated because of lingering resentment toward her. Across the Atlantic, European media weighed in too. A French political commentator referred to Meghan as La Princesse Parasite on a popular talk show. In Germany, a satirical magazine published a cartoon showing Meghan as a queen sitting atop a pile of gold coins, reaching out for a welfare check. Back in the United States, the political ramifications of the controversy began to take shape. Taxpayer watchdog groups used the scandal as ammunition to push for reforms in California's unemployment system. "This isn't just about Meghan Markle," declared Paul Dugan, director of Taxpayer Alliance USA. "It's about the principle that public funds should never be used to subsidize the rich and famous. If California can't guarantee that, then Washington needs to step in." Calls for legislative action grew louder. In Washington, D.C., Senator Whitmore introduced a bill nicknamed the Markle Clause, which proposed barring individuals with net worths above $5 million from receiving unemployment benefits. Though critics dismissed the bill as political theater, it gained surprising traction among voters angry about perceived abuses of the system. Meanwhile, Meghan's legal team reportedly began reaching out to allies in the political and entertainment worlds, hoping to rally support. According to sources, their strategy involved positioning Meghan as a victim of systemic bias and media harassment. One insider described the plan bluntly: "It's damage control, plain and simple." But they're running out of options. The pressure on Meghan to respond publicly intensified. Paparazzi swarmed the Montecito mansion. Helicopters circled overhead. Protesters lined the streets with signs reading, "No free rides for royals," and Markle, pay your own way. As the controversy deepened, even Meghan's closest allies began to question her silence. One former staffer was quoted as saying, "She's making a mistake by not addressing this head-on. Every day she stays quiet, the narrative hardens against her. It's like watching a slow-motion car crash." By the end of the second week, the scandal had become one of the most talked-about stories in the world. Television ratings spiked every time Meghan's name appeared in a headline. Social media platforms reported record engagement on posts related to the controversy. But beyond the noise, one question lingered. Had Meghan's actions triggered a necessary debate about privilege and fairness, or had she crossed an ethical line that would forever tarnish her image? And as California's Employment Development Department continued its review of her application, the world waited with bated breath to see whether Meghan Markle would emerge from this scandal unscathed, or if this would mark the beginning of her ultimate downfall. The Meghan Markle unemployment scandal had grown into more than just a singular controversy. It was now being placed alongside some of the most notorious celebrity scandals in recent memory. For critics and cultural commentators, comparing Meghan's situation to other high-profile incidents became a way of measuring the depth of public outrage and asking a larger question. Why do these stories strike such a nerve, and what do they reveal about our society's complicated relationship with wealth, fame, and privilege?